Aloha, friends. This is Tutu Sainz here at Aloha Food Forest. You can see a picture of the beautiful oak tree behind me. She is so wise and old. I believe she has been the one who has been teaching me and sort of been like a motherly figure to me while I've been here. And I really appreciate her so much. She calms people down when they go under her branches, and she just emanates this strength and steadiness that's just so lovely. Plus, she makes acorns and baby oak trees. She shelters the other trees. So it's very much underneath her branches that I was inspired with this book. This was my first book that I published in 2019, Our Path to Infinite Abundance, Introduction to Food Forests. So this is a PDF copy of the book that you can get on my website at foodforestuniversity.com. And I offer an 8-step path to creating a food forest based also on the teachings that I learned under the oak tree. I just basically took years of me just recording everything that I was doing. I was so excited about the garden and how cool it is because it was, 100 years old or more. And so I was learning from the garden after having been an organic gardener and also then having access to the internet, following Jeff Lawton, so many, Paul Wheaton, the permaculture people, also David the Good, a bunch of other gardeners on YouTube, and really very much Paul Gauci in the Back to Eden gardening film. So I just kept taking in information and working with this place and turning it into a food forest, because a forest has its own wisdom to it, and it's a lower maintenance type of thing, as you will see in this chapter that I'm about to read to you. So this chapter is The Tale of Monocropper and Food Forester. So I'm just gonna flip through the pages here. So here it is. The Tale of Monocropper and Food Forester. This is one of my favorite chapters out of the book, Our Path to Infinite Abundance, Introduction to Food Forests. So I'll go ahead and read it for you. Here's a sad tale about a farmer named Monocropper who thought up a plan to earn lots of money by growing such a massive amount of one crop that he could sell his harvest far and wide. First, he needed to purchase a fancy new tractor to use for pulling out the trees where he wanted to make his field and drag the trees away. He would need the tractor again when he was ready to till the whole crop field in straight lines. So Monocropper bought the tractor, pulled out the trees, dragged them away, and tilled the whole field in straight lines. This way, Monocropper reasoned, he would have full sunlight on his crop all the time. Then he needed to purchase seeds to plant in his field, so he bought the latest modernized seeds from the prominent experts and planted one seed every few inches up and down every row in his whole field. As his crop began to grow, Monocropper noticed his plants looking rather pale and sickly. Soon his problem became apparent. All the plants in his field required the same soil nutrients to grow. So every plant in his crop had to compete with neighboring plants for the same dwindling supply of available nutrients. You see, in Monocropper's field, all the plants were started at the same time and mature at the same pace. So the entire crop of plants all requires the same nutrients all at the same time. Because his plants competed with one another for nutrition to grow, the law of supply and demand dictates that the plants would consume and deplete those nutrients from the soil unless Monocropper added more nutrients into the ground. Poor Monocropper got to work fixing this problem. He found a way to add more of the necessary nutrients into the soil to keep the plants growing. His solution was to purchase lab-created fertilizer blends and apply those to the soil. Poor Monocropper. Imagine him carefully measuring, diluting, and applying his blend in recommended amounts, because if one doesn't measure and mix correctly, the fertilizer will burn the crop. He worked to get the blend right and evenly apply the right amount to every area of the field. What a nerve-wracking task for poor Monocropper, because if he messed up, he would lose his crop. He decided to purchase a new spraying attachment for his tractor so he could drive the tractor through his field while spraying the fertilizer blend. Although he spent much money on the tractor equipment, the seeds, and the fertilizer, Monocropper considered those as necessary costs of doing business on a farm. Still, he hoped to make more than enough money to pay for everything once he sold his harvest. Poor Monocropper didn't realize it, but over at the lab where they blend up the fertilizer mixtures he purchased, they only add a few kinds of the many nutrients that plants love. Even though the laboratory blends tried to duplicate nature, they missed essential components. The lab-created fertilizer blends exclude a widely diverse set of micronutrients and microbiota that are part of authentic plant food, such as you would find in the soil. Still, Monocropper considered the fertilizer blends to be his best choice and a good investment. Poor Monocropper, maybe nobody explained to him the definition of authentic plant food. The definition of authentic plant food is, this is my definition, waste byproducts from living biota and decomposing parts of deceased biota. So when I'm using the word biota, I mean the set of all plant and animal life forms, and fungi, actually. That's kind of a mistake in there. It should be flora, fauna, and fungi. So imagine that a fruiting tree can use decomposed parts of last year's fruits, leaves, and stems as components for new growth, right? How do the parts decompose? Many biota work together to decompose plant parts, from rodents to insects to earthworms to tiny soil microbes like bacteria and fungi and mold. Fortunately, Monocropper's neighbor down the road, another grower named Food Forester, learned how to grow food crops without the problem of limited soil nutrients. Food Forester planted a widely diverse selection of plants, everything from tall fruit and nut trees down to underground root crops like carrots and onions, and allowed them to grow together into a forest of food, which became a unified, self-regulating community of plant and animal and fungi biota that generates nutrients for itself, by itself, automatically, and grows food for human beings and wildlife automatically, generation after generation. Some of Food Forester's plants have roots that grow deep into the soil and bring up nutrients to the surface for other plants to use. Some of her plants crawl along over the forest floor, using nutrients from the mulch to grow new crops on the ground level. Lucky Food Forester, her plants grow nutrient-dense leaves with the help of the healthy soil biota, the deep soil minerals, and light energy from the sky, and carbon dioxide from the air. When those nutrient-dense leaves fall to the ground, they pass their nutrients on to the surface plants and to the soil-dwelling biota, who help decompose the leaves into food for the next generation of leaves to use. Each of the diverse plant varieties in Food Forester's garden adds a unique set of nutrients to the garden soil upon decomposing at the end of life. Various nutrients from various sources cover all the land. Nothing goes to waste, and nothing more is needed. Lucky Food Forester, she doesn't have to purchase lab-produced fertilizer blends and apply them meticulously with expensive machinery because she allows the plant material to decompose on the soil's surface and provide authentic plant food and safe dwelling places for soil biota. Her probiotic food forest community recycles the dead parts back into nutrients for the next generation of living plants. Food Forester watches her crops grow abundant harvests year-round and has lots of time for other things besides cultivating food crops, like cooking and baking, creating fun projects, learning new things in online classes, reading, writing, and running a business, since the work of the biota ultimately grows food for us in a food forest. I give you this food for thought. Death supports life, life supports death. They're like two sides of the same coin. So, poor Monocropper, just when he thought he had covered all the bases, crop-eating insects invaded his field and got right to work, breaking down the unhealthy plants. Now, please don't get angry at the insects because they are helpers too. They quickly begin decomposing the sickly plants to create authentic plant food for the next generation of seedlings. The insects scurried from one plant to another and another. Poor Monocropper, with insects breaking down and recycling his sickly plants like paramedics of the sick garden, he became discouraged and disheartened. But he didn't give up. After spending so much money on equipment, labor, seeds, and fertilizers, he gathered up more fortitude and set out to prevent this crop loss and any more crop losses in the future. He decided to battle and kill those insects. Sadly, back to the store he went to purchase insecticides to kill the insects and fungicides to kill fungi and some antibiotics to kill microbiota. He felt prepared for the future, but still, he wondered why it was so dang hard to grow food on this planet. Wearily, he trudged back to work on his farm. I give you this food for thought. Are you warring against Mother Earth's beautifully designed biotic system? Mother Earth will win. Well, luckily, Food Forester's method of growing food eliminates the quote-unquote pest problem. Diverse, thriving plants create a welcoming habitat for predators and prey. Ladybugs, praying mantises, spiders, lizards, and birds all coexist in the food forest, keeping each other's populations in balance. Many plant-eating insects can't fly or travel well, so when they show up at Food Forester's garden, the scents and colors of various plants distract them in many directions. They can't focus in on breaking down a large area of the same plants as they can in monocroppers grow because of the diversity of all ages and stages of plants in the forest. Generally, food forest plants will be healthy and green and unattractive to decomposing insects. However, even in the food forest, there are times when plants die and need to decompose. When plant parts drop off and die, they are ready to return to the soil. Those plants will be processed into authentic plant food by the decomposing biota. A team of decomposers lives for the very purpose of breaking down any dead and dying plants into usable material for the next generation of plants. That's their job. They primarily decompose suffering plants, not healthy plants. They digest green parts and brown parts and return those into the earth in the post-digested form as they deposit their bodily waste back into the soil community. If you didn't get that, that's when they go poop and pee in the soil, and that is what feeds the next generation of plants. Just saying it. Poor monocropper, he discovered another problem with his farm. His field gets extremely hot and extremely cold, depending on the temperature, and howling winds batter and blow dry his plants. Head hanging low, monocropper went back to the store to purchase enough shade cloths to cover his whole field in sunscreen fabric for heat waves, and enough freeze cloths to cover it with frost protection fabric during cold snaps. Then he found a place to store the cover cloths nearby in case of emergency. Luckily, plants growing in Food Forester's forest setting naturally receive protection from extreme temperatures and buffeting winds by the trees and other plants around them, and by the organic material covering the soil on the forest floor. As we leave monocropper, he is still trying to figure out what to do. We have yet to see how his story ends. Food Forester observed that biota with different functions and strengths benefit from each other's presence in the garden. Deciduous plants provide shade in summer and sun in winter, while ground-covering plants anchor the soil, preventing erosion. Soil microbes help fix nitrogen from the air, while deep-rooted plants collect soil minerals. Food Forester imagines that there are many yet undiscovered benefits occurring in a forest where various plants live together harmoniously. From Food Forester's point of view, the plants are performing the very thing they were created to do, fulfilling their purpose, serving others, and mutually benefiting from living together in a community. In the human world, we wouldn't thrive or even survive as a society if everyone did the same job. Variety completes us and creates wholeness. We thrive best when we have diversity and live in a community where we get along and help each other. As individuals express their unique vision and talent, we all benefit. Food Forester learned the truth about natural abundance from observing a forest. Diversity creates healthy plant communities. I give you this food for thought. The most miraculous takeaway of all is that the entire community of biota work together in concert to grow food for us human beings. And that is the end of the chapter. Which chapter is this? Chapter 8, I think. Let's see. There's the whole book. We're scrolling up through it. Here we go. Oops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Chapter 7. The Tale of Monocropper and Food Forester. Okay, I hope you enjoyed listening to that little tale, and I hope you'll keep checking out the videos on my YouTube channels. And I also have 2 websites you can visit. They are alohafoodforest.com, which is where I share about food forests in general, and have a lot of information there and some fun things, like you can find out how to make hair care products, and just read the blog, and you can find links to my books online. And then also there's foodforestuniversity.com where you can, for free, enroll and learn the 8 steps to creating a food forest. So I laid it out in perfect order for you, what to do in step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now, step 8 is starting all over again with steps 1 through 7. So because it's an annual cycle and it shows you what to do in each year as the seasons come, we work with the seasons. So it's very fun, and I give everything away for free because I want everyone to have access to this information. And the only thing I sell are the print books on Amazon, so you can get a copy of this book on Amazon and also a copy of the 8-step path to creating a food forest. So, and you can find that if you search for Tutu Sainz on Amazon. And anyway, I hope that each of us will reach out and take care of a piece of land on this earth. I think it would be so helpful for us and for the planet if we were co-creating with nature to grow beautiful gardens. Okay, thank you for listening to this video, and I send you aloha. And end the meeting.